Advances in technology now provide grain producers with an array of data from their fields. But getting all this data in one place to easily gain insights may be a challenge for many. And tonight on Rural America Live, learn about Climate FieldView platform. Climate FieldView helps farmers make the most out of their data, optimize inputs, reduce or even eliminate yield loss. Seamless data connectivity with equipment to your iPad. Climate FieldView collects all your field data in one place so you can make decisions with confidence. Tonight, learn about things like variable rate scripting, nitrogen monitoring tools, and high-quality field health imagery. Climate FieldView provides all this and more right at your fingertips. Good evening and welcome to Rural America Live with our friends from Climate Corporation. I'm Mark Oppold. Good to have you with us for this hour. Joining me in studio, John Jansen, Vice President Agronomic Services, Climate Corporation, and Anthony Osborne, Vice President Marketing with Climate Corporation. Welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Great to be with you, Mark.
Good to have you here. Anthony, let's start with you and learn a bit about yourself. Where is home originally for you?
Yeah, Mark, I grew up on a farm in Bardstown, Kentucky, and I've lived in St. Louis for some time since then.
Very good. And what your position with Climate Corporation?
Yeah, I'm in charge of marketing for the Climate Corporation.
And we're glad to have you here. Lots to cover during the hour, and I know you're looking forward to sharing it with our listeners and viewers.
Absolutely.
John, how about you? Where's home originally?
Yeah, Mark, I grew up in a small river town, Muscatine, Iowa, so southeast Iowa.
Great watermelons from there.
Absolutely. In fact, you're right in season.
That's right, exactly right. Talk about your position with the Climate Corporation.
I lead our Climate Advisory Services team that includes the field staff that work with our dealers and farmers across the Corn Belt.
And you have an iPad here with you, and later on during the hour, you're going to show how easy it is to use, and a lot of folks, maybe producers made a little pullback, pushback when they start, well, iPads, I'm not sure I can operate that, but you're going to show them how easy it is.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we're firm believers if we're really going to turn this digital ag software space on, we've got to be able to do it live. So we're going to do a live software demo here as part of our program.
Very good. And joining us later in the hour, they have also invited a producer, Steve Hettinger from Illinois, also a climate certified Climate FieldView dealer, will be joining us later, but also as a producer to talk about his experiences, and we'll get a crop update from Central Illinois from him as well. Well, Andy, let's get started and tell us more about the term digital agriculture, kind of what that means during this hour especially.
Yeah, Mark, one of the things we've seen is farmers have a tremendous amount of data in their operation. Oftentimes that data is locked up in their equipment. Oftentimes it's printed in a notebook and a binder with a lot of historical data about their operation. So when we talk about digital agriculture, we're really talking about digitizing everything that we can possibly capture about that acre. If we can digitize the information, we can then use data science and software to start to provide analytics and insights into the farmer's operation. So in some cases, we may be producing a yield map and analyzing a hybrid and its performance. In other cases, we may be using real data science to start being predictive and prescriptive about that particular field and that particular situation.
Really changing agriculture now and even more into the future, I would guess, is really what this is all about, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Our lives have digitized all over the place. Why not the farming operation?
So talk about the response. We talked about that earlier today when you and I had a chance to visit during our Market Day report. But from your vantage point, some of the responses you're getting, the tools like this, they've been around for years. What are you hearing out there?
Well, we're really starting to see farmers take advantage and start to adopt these technologies. So a little over 2 years ago, we launched Climate FieldView. Today, we have about 92 million acres worth of farmers that are on our platform. In some cases, they're using our free tools and our weather tools and scouting tools. In other cases, they're subscribing to paid services like our nitrogen tools and our field health tools. This year, we have over 13 million paid acres on our paid platform. And what we see is farmers really start to use these tools on a regular basis. They don't just sign up. Once someone comes in and starts using the product, we see them use the product all the time. Even taking their iPad with them in their truck or to meetings and having all their data in one place really seems to be something that farmers value.
How long has it been available? Farmers may be watching or tuning in tonight may not remember or not realize how long this has been available to them.
Yeah, we really launched about 2 years ago. And we've been in the process of training dealers, training a selling force, and really educating farmers one-on-one about how they can leverage these software tools to improve their operations and be a valuable tool in their decisions, as well as with their trusted advisor or their retailer.
Yeah, we'll talk about that as well. And we're in that time of the year now where this really comes into play. But really, I think one of the points that I see from the outline is, before you came, is that really it's a full season. I want to say that a full season complement to keeping track of all the data.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a product that you just use one time of the year, right? Farmers are making more than 40 decisions that we've identified as they go through their season. And that's even magnified when you think about making that decision on many, many fields across their operation. So there's a lot of different variables that go in using the product to make the best and most solid decisions.
John, you travel around the country too, and getting your reaction from producers when they see this and some of the things that they're telling you that they use it for.
Yeah, well said, Anthony. I think you've got to make it easy. That's the biggest feedback I get is keep it simple. You know, we started out really with the desktop software, but have learned that right here on the iPad, you know, a tablet that you can take with you everywhere out in the field is critical. So just making the process of enrolling about 20 minutes has really been a big breakthrough to enable more farmers to participate.
Anthony, what about the ease of operation and how is it different? I guess maybe is a better question. How is they may say, well, there are other data products out there. How is this one different?
Well, John touched on some of them. We actually started off on a desktop platform like most other software providers have stepped on. Started with what we found is farmers really don't like spending a lot of time at their desk. Right? They like spending time in their fields, with their advisors, with their crops, and having that data in their hands at any point in time when they need to use it is the way to make it practical to them. We spend a tremendous amount of time out with growers, really looking at how they use our software, how the best way for them to navigate is. And so our product changes pretty often as we're starting to evolve it. And I think that's an area that really separates us from some of the other software providers, along with this is science for us. So this isn't just software. So we ground truth and trial everything. So we have established a network of our own climate research farms in about 4 locations where we're doing farmer scale research to improve our products, make them more accurate, ground truth them all the time. So these aren't small plots where, like you see sometimes in research, it's real equipment that a farmer would use. We're farming at scale. Along with those research farms, we also have a network of about 75 farmers and a number of cooperators that give us data and insights back on about 40,000 acres, so we could ground truth and test everything we do.
And John, again, that we're as a vice president of agronomy, that's just they're singing right into your wheelhouse there when you talk about all that kind of research and what you're gathering from those states and all those acres.
Well, that's right. I mean, you know, models are one thing, but we learned firsthand you've got to ground truth those models with real field research from the farm. And farmers want to see it work in their fields and see it proven there. So that's a huge focus area for us.
And you cover with these trials, I mean, a pretty wide area of the country, so you get different geographies, different soil types, different crops even.
We really do. All across the Central Corn Belt, we've ensured that we have enrolled cooperators that can represent the major farming environments that our product is used on.
And is it safe to say that nobody else is doing the kind of research, the in-depth research that you're doing at Climate Corporation?
Yeah, it's really expansive.
So you were going to talk about getting with your advisor and putting this all together and maybe giving us a little demonstration. We're going to have a little more in-depth demonstration in our next segment here, but get us started here when you're talking about working with your advisor.
Yeah, Mark, I mean, like Anthony hit on, it's very farmer-facing software, but I think another unique thing about Climate is that it is dealer-enabled. So farmers can work with their trusted advisors or agronomists, share their fields, share field data, and work really with the people that they would normally trust and rely on for agronomic decisions. And on the iPad here, let me just spin it around here.
Very good.
I'll show you an example. You know, if you get yield data from a farm, some new features that we have for this next 2017 season, you'll notice here I'm in our FieldView app. I've got a farm summary here of 5 fields, the acres harvested, the total bushels, summarized by field name. I can click on that and move to a hybrid summary. And then I can also summarize that by soil type. So really a dealer agronomist can work with farmers to understand the best seed performance and placement at numerous cuts across the operation.
Well, it seems like there's a lot of information on just that screen. You're going to have a little more in depth. Again, some of the other things that are on there that a producer say, wow, I could really use that information.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being able to drill in by soil type and understand the yield of different hybrids or varieties on a dominant soil type, you know, it really gives you all of those data insights that that farmers like to assess at the end of the season to see really what performed where.
Take an example from the screen we see there, maybe that might be helpful.
You know, here you've got a summary of soil types across a farming operation, regardless of the fields they were in. So just think about this. You know, we're used to looking at yield maps and just seeing a yield average for a field, and there in the past have been a lot of steps to do that. Now we've got all that yield data summarized where you can look across all your silty loams and see that that was some of the highest productivity ground in this particular farm operation. That really is powerful data that helps you understand where to invest more.
And again, you're going to get more in depth with if a producer wanted to start inputting data using this example here. How would he or she do that?
Yeah, well, we'll show you an example in a little bit. This device in front of me that kind of looks like a hockey puck, it's called the FieldView Drive. And it's a really simple device that sells for about $250. Some engineers really designed this as a Bluetooth device that connects right to the iPad. So now you can get live data right out of a tractor, planter, combine, and for next season, sprayers and applicators. So we're connecting each major step of the farming operation live to the iPad when farming really happens.
And we talked about the initial question about advisors working with producers. A producer may not be wanting to get that in depth just right now, but that advisor certainly could and walk through that with the producer.
Yeah, you know, we really see it both ways. I'll be honest, my big learning has been most farmers want to work with their trusted advisor. You know,
sure.
we do offer some direct sign up and we will take farmer enrollments over the phone, but over 95% of our customer base, and we have thousands of farmers on the platform, want to work with their local dealer, their local agronomist.
Anything to add here, Anthony, in talking about this, the application and what it all means to a producer, boiled down to the simplest form?
Yeah, I think it's about making it easy. So what John just showed you, there's software in the past that has let us accomplish much of that. Right? What we're going to show you and what's coming in our products are the ways to make that simpler and just iPad simple for the grower.
All right, very good. Just getting a good start. We're talking to our friends from Climate Corporation about Climate FieldView. Coming up, we'll see a demonstration in detail here from John, and we're going to hear from that Illinois farmer, Steve Hettinger. He's in studio with us. We're going to hear about his experience. For now, we'll take a quick break and be right back. Rural America Live continues right after this. Welcome back to Rural America Live, and we are joined by our panel of experts from Climate Corporation. You've already met 2 of their members. We welcome our 3rd member now, Steve Hettinger. Hettinger from Illinois. I got to get that name right here.
You're doing fine.
Opel goes a lot of ways too, so I'm with you on that. Welcome to the program.
Thanks.
You are a farmer, but also a dealer.
Yes.
For Climate Corporation. Talk about the operation there in Central Illinois.
Sure. We farm, my 2 brothers and I, Ray and David, we farm near the town of Filey, which is near Champaign. We are a 50-50 corn soybean rotation. We've been farming together for 30 years, and we're a 4th generation farm. So we're, like you said, we're climate dealers and we're also seed dealers.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow, 4th generation. I can't, as a farm broadcaster, let go without getting a crop report here as we get through this month from your part of the country.
It's long as no one holds me to it. The corn is just as good, if not better, than last year. So I'm looking at 220, 250. area. And the beans a little early to tell, but I'm going to say 70, 75.
Is that right?
Very good.
Very good. Well, it's been a great year for most folks. We're going to get your, I guess, from a dual perspective as a dealer from Climate Corporation, but also as a farmer using these tools that we're discussing. So it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Very good. Right now, we're going to get that demonstration here, John, and talk about. We've invited other callers, by the way. You invited some others to call in, maybe ask a question on behalf of other producers. But talk about the benefits of this digital tool. So let's get into it here.
You bet. Well, one of the best ways to start is just getting cabs connected across the farm. For example, planters and combines. And I mentioned Climate FieldView Drive. I wanted to show you an example of, it's one of my favorites from Illinois farmer Will Frank. On the screen here, you see a yield map. And this yield map, you can tell, has a lot of field variability to it. But the nice thing is, by capturing your planter data and your combine yield data with the drive, literally when you pull out of the field at harvest, with just one click, you can get a yield summary. So this is a yield field report. It shows we averaged about 199 bushels, and we had 2 different hybrids in that field. Notice 6208 here, a DeKalb hybrid, out-yielded another product, 6277, by about 11 bushels. And I'll show you why that's important.
Sure.
Because how many times do we do a trial, maybe of a couple corn hybrids in a field, see a summary like this, but know there's something else going on in the field? And let me show you a real simple way you can look at that. By tapping on split screen, a farmer now has access to all their data layers. So here's a background image. See some wheel tracks on the left side of that screen. There's some center pivot irrigation on part of this field. So already we know that part of this field received more irrigation and this corner over here didn't, and that certainly could impact yield. You can drop down all your key data layers. The USDA has nicely mapped for us all the key soil layers. Check this out. This is a map of organic matter available from your USDA soil survey. That red strip of lower organic matter correlates very well to this strip of lower yield across the center of the field. So you can start to piece together the pieces of the puzzle that try to explain why we got different yield across the field.
I'm going to, before you go, where does this data come from?
Well, this data is all preloaded. So the soils maps, it turns out, we can preload for all the fields in the Central Corn Belt. So all a farmer really has to do is map a field boundary, capture their yield data. The yield data comes from the drive I just showed you, and now you can start to look for these interactions.
So, I'm just from an outsider looking in, learning as I go here before the hour, did a lot of research, but so you can have different soil types going across one pass of the field, which producers may not put 2 and 2 together and wonder why there's the whole field may go 180 or 200, but there's areas that might go 120 or 110.
That's exactly right. You can really look at all the different layers that might impact yield. Something I was going to show you next is, we know there were 2 hybrids planted in that field.
Right.
And since we captured that planter data with the drive, we can just tap over here to hybrid. And here it is. Check this out. In the blue on the left, you've got that DeKalb hybrid 6208. On the right, you've got 6277. So already we know that a lot of this field was planted 1 hybrid under irrigation. So if I click on my field region report, I'm using one of these new Apple pencils. It's kind of neat because you can really precisely draw within that field an area. And now the software is going to grab all those yield data points in the just under 5 acres I highlighted. Take a look at this. Now, 6277 actually out-yielded 6208.
Right in that little, whatever, 5 acre.
Over 30 bushels. And so as a farmer, you come to a really different conclusion when you can go in and highlight specific areas of the field. You can really, one cool thing about the pencil, I mean, you can go in and really highlight some specific areas of the field if you want to see a management zone or an area that you know really got a special treatment. And so just some really cool, simple tools at your fingertips.
I'm going to hold you right there. I'm watching this, and Steve, you're watching it too. You know more about it, but as a producer, when you see that kind of data and what you can do with it, what is it? How do you react?
Finally, they're bringing data to life. We've stored USB sticks with data in our drawers forever, and now Climate FieldView has brought that to life. It's given it a face. It's very productive, very efficient, and it gives you a scorecard at the end of the season on how well you really did.
Yeah. What was there kind of a light bulb that went on for your farm when you started to see this data that you thought you knew your field, but maybe not as much?
Oh, yeah, we've made so many better decisions by seeing the high resolution of data come across in a very user-friendly way that you can pick up and use immediately. You don't have to wait to use it. You're using it, making decisions as you go through the season, from start to finish.
Wow, yeah, full season. Yep. Anthony touched on that, so there's a producer verifying what we just talked about. Okay, what else you want to show us here?
Well, I was just going to highlight also this field, it turns out, was planted to a variable rate seeding prescription. And so because, again, we use the drive to capture that population data, here's what that prescription looks like. And I can take a look and notice some of that yield variability on the right side in that yield map is in the lower part of the field where the seeding rates were lower. So again, I can just with one click tap on my field region report, and I can highlight part of this field that was planted to 2 different seeding rates, and I can see a summary by soil type and by those 2 different populations. And notice the area that was planted between 35 and 36,000 seeds an acre yielded about 220. And we had about just about 12 bushels less for the area at the lower seeding rate, around 34,000. So as you do different management practices in fields, you now have some tools to really go in and understand the impacts of those.
If you're a producer like Steve that we have here with us tonight, and you're looking at this map in here, what are some of the things, and we're going to get into more details here about nitrogen management, that kind of thing, but what would be a couple of recommendations if you were an advisor to this producer that you might say, Bob, look at this. Pick out a couple of things if you can.
Well, you bet. Well, first off, we saw in our first example that just looking at a total field average didn't really tell the story. It was only until we could go in and understand the hybrid performance at specific places in that field. And I think this software really gives you the power to not just settle for an average, but go in and look at those differences. The side-by-side screen view, having all of your data layers in one place, and there's many others I could pull up, satellite imagery in season. You could look at many different causes of crop condition. The population here, I mean, another conclusion I draw is we know for years higher corn yields have come by planting higher seeding rates in higher yield environments with these new elite genetics. And a clear conclusion here would be we definitely got highest yields in this field where we push those seeding rates.
Wow. Now, does the combine collect a lot of this data that is now available that you're looking at this field? I mean, that's where this final data has to come from?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I should have mentioned that a little better. In fact, better time now. We've really made it simple to connect the drive. So I've got a drive here, and obviously we couldn't be in a planter or combine cab here in the studio. So our engineers in between Anthony and I rigged up a little power pack where if you just plug this in, it's just a little USB power that powers up the drive. Okay. It's kind of like syncing your headphones to your iPhone before you go for a run. And suddenly then as you're planting, you can really see on my iPad here that we're streaming as planted data. And so we've got a little bit of recorded planter data. We're capturing the hybrid. This is where a farmer would map and tag as hybrids so that we can do those yield analysis at the end of the season. We're capturing the population and all the key dashboard metrics that you want to see when you're in the cab. And so we're really turning this iPad into another display with the FieldView drive. We've got a landmark agreement also with John Deere where on a lot of their late model equipment that's just coming out this year, our FieldView cab app will be able to be directly connected to Deere's wireless data service, and that'll be coming online later this fall.
There you go. Yeah, Anthony.
And Mark, you mentioned field variability, and we've had the yield monitor in our combines for years now, and we've watched those yield monitors go up and down, right? This starts to bring that data to life. And the game is variability. So even if we look at fields that you think are very consistent, 20% yield variability almost always occurs. And on average, it's probably more like 45% variability between the good spots in that field and the bad spots of that field. So this is about raising the yield on all those parts of that field and managing that variability that occurs.
That's a great point. And back to the farm near Champaign, I'm sure you have different soil types that you weren't sure until you started using the Climate Corporation technology.
Oh yeah,
it shows you what you were getting.
It's amazing technology, and what they failed to mention is if you have 2 combines in the same field, they merge that data up into the cloud, and it comes back down to everybody on that farm. So you're not missing a beat with multiple machines either. And so all that's tied. It's almost like a social device, right? I mean, we can share all that. We can print a yield map at the end of the field, send it to our farm manager, landowner, trusted advisor. All that's connected.
Well, I didn't think about that. If you had 2 combines in the field, and I think many farmers and producers will in the harvest season, they're all collecting all that data at the same time and merging it for that field, correct?
Yeah, and great point, Steve. I mean, the remote view feature, you don't even necessarily have to be in the field. You can sit in your home office and watch it, right?
Be at the dentist office.
Exactly.
We're going to talk about nitrogen management here in a minute, but we have a caller. Again, our friends from Climate Corporation invited from producers. They know that a lot of you have questions, and we've shown you the number on the screen where you can call during regular business hours and get your questions answered. But we have a few producers who represent you who have a question tonight, I'm sure, about this technology. We're going to go to Minnesota and visit with Andrew. Andrew, welcome to our program.
Yeah, hi. I'm calling from Minnesota, and I was wondering what happens with the data I import into the Climate FieldView. How is the information being used?
I'll take that.
It's
a great question, Andrew. First of all, I'll start with all of our data policies are written in plain English on our website. So if you want to go to climate.com under privacy policy, all of that information that I'm about to tell you is there. But we start with a very simple philosophy that your data is your data. And we'll be very clear with how we'll use that data and won't use that data. And that's our commitment to you. That starts with your ownership of that data. So we don't provide that data to anyone else. That data, first of all, gets used to improve your recommendations and insights back to you. That's the primary way that data gets used. We also use that data in an aggregated, anonymous way to improve our models and insights for all of our customers. Other than that data is not used by anyone.
Very good. That's a good question, I'm sure. And thanks for the call, Andrew. You really bring up a point that we've done stories on Market Day Report on the data and ownership and sharing of the data. You've kind of touched on that. Maybe just make sure we come full circle and being assured that Climate Corporation is, as you say, that is the ownership of the producer.
Absolutely, it's your data, and we'll seek to help you easily share that data with people you want, like your trusted advisor, and we've built capabilities within our tool so that you can easily share that data with your agronomist, but you're in full control of who has access to your data.
Yeah, and Anthony, I'll jump in and say this fall we'll be, of course, turning on some new features around data sharing that enables farmers to select particular data layers that they want to share with different people. So a lot of new features coming.
Give me an example of the data layer when you use that term. What does that mean?
Yeah, you bet. Maybe you'd be comfortable sharing your weather data, but maybe not some of your yield data. And so now you have more choices in terms of who you share that information with.
We're going to talk about nitrogen here in a minute, but we have another caller who you have invited to call in and ask a question, as Andrew has. This is Mark. I like that name. Mark from South Dakota. How are you tonight, Mark?
Doing great. How are you guys doing?
Thanks for calling. We're doing just fine. Go ahead.
My question is for John. How accurate is the nitrogen tool in Climate FieldView?
Yeah, our nitrogen advisor provides a projection of plant available nitrogen in corn, and we've ground truthed it versus just last season over 29,000 soil tests. We compare that to the university standards that are known as the pre-sidedress nitrate test, which give farmers guidelines on whether or not to add supplemental nitrogen in season in corn to get a yield boost. And we found that over 80% of the time, when our nitrogen advisor indicates 0 or a deficiency of nitrogen in corn, farmers will see a significant yield benefit to adding additional nitrogen.
Thanks for the call, Mark. Well, he just leads us right into, we promised we were going to talk about nitrogen management. It's the biggest input cost. So take it away, John. And how does Climate Corporation lock into what Mark and others are asking?
It was a great segue. So I'm in my Climate FieldView app, you'll see on the screen. And you can see all my fields. If I click on my data manager, you can go into a screen that's got all the places where you can just point and click and add in your crop type, your hybrid that was planted. But again, that flows in from the drive, so we're making it a lot easier to get this data pre-populated. Notice across the top here I've got a few icons, and the first one is nitrogen, so I'll just tap on that one. And here's all my fields on my farm, and you'll notice that about the third field down is called Higginbottom. This is a farm we do a lot of research with in central Illinois. It was a fascinating winter. We had one of the warmest, wettest Decembers on record, and this particular field happens to be on an operation we work really closely with where really some fall fertility is required. There's just too many fields to cover to take that much risk, and so this field got 176 pounds of nitrogen, you'll notice right there at the top, in November. And then you can see the red line goes through the wintertime, and when we got into that warm, wet December, we had a lot of nitrogen move through the soil profile as those warm, wet conditions converted that nitrogen into more water-soluble forms that left the field. And so the plant-available nitrogen really declined until we added another 30 units at planting. But we were still projecting all the way forward through the end of this season a 67-pound deficit, and that's pretty substantial. So here's how the tool works. See the plus in the upper right. Farmer just clicks on add an application here. I can run some scenarios, and so we actually did that in this field where we added some 28%.
Oh, you even got the different...
Yep. We went ahead and we picked the date. We actually did it on May 5th. We did it early on in the season when we could actually have a good impact on protecting that yield. We went ahead and we did not incorporate it. We broadcast it, and then we put down 96 units. And I can just click save, and it's going to ping the servers here. And if all goes well, it'll return us an answer here in a moment that shows the impact of that supplemental
If you were to do
nitrogen.
that, or you did do that, and now what the impact is as far as availability of nitrogen out into the season.
That's exactly right. And it's going to come back and show us that really by adding that, we have now moved to a positive 20 pounds an acre. And if you think about this as a field average, that's a pretty good place to be, because there's some highs and lows of availability across that field. Having a 20-pound remaining, 20 to 30 pounds is a pretty good target.
I want to go back to the farmer we have here and also dealer, though. Steve, looking at nitrogen, that's a big cost for you and every producer out there watching tonight.
Yeah, and nitrogen is hard to figure out, right? And so a model like that on our farm has paid us dividends.
How so?
Well, the last 2 years we've been using that nitrogen feature, and we've saved 50 pounds per acre by what it was telling us. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be that way next year. There's no template for nitrogen program, so that's why that's even more important that you can have that tool each year to put in what-if scenarios. Different rates, different sources. Do you use an inhibitor? There's a lot of advantage to that tool. It's probably one of the most valuable tools we're using out of that Pro series.
Now, this is your second season with Climate Corporation.
Yes.
And just using the nitrogen example here, was there a difference in application and the timing and the rates from last year to this year?
Well, we discovered it by accident last year. Mother Nature rained us out, right? And we just could not get in the field to get our side dressing done. We intentionally set back our rates at planting time because we knew we were going to side dress, right? Mother Nature gave us a very wet June, very wet, but the whole time I was monitoring my Climate Pro and losing sleep, but it helped me. It helped me realize that, hey, you're going to be fine. And we were fine. We reduced our rates, and so it's paid dividends.
Interesting here. It's great to have the producer here and along and verifying, but seeing what you're seeing or showing, by the way. John, what about helping farmers manage variability? We mentioned that word and health of their fields as well.
Yeah, you bet. In fact, let me go back to the tools. I also brought my iPhone here, and so I might not have prepared you for this, but let's see if I can log
You're going to wow me some more, aren't you?
I am. I'm going to show you. I've got, a lot of us might not even have our iPads in the field. We might have our iPhones. And so I've got an image. This is a Field Health Advisor image.
Just hold that steady right there. Yeah,
yep.
That's good.
You bet. It was taken in early June. And notice the red spots in the middle of that field. This farmer noticed that and knew exactly where to go scout. And upon inspection of that field, saw some early symptoms of gray leaf spot in this cornfield. So the decision was made to apply a fungicide. And I'll go ahead and put my phone down and flip back over to my cab app. And I'm going to go to a little bit different field here.
By the way, so you call it a cab app, so the producer can do this while he's in the tractor, combine, or in his office at his ranch.
Exactly
office
right.
at home.
Exactly right. It can be used in the cab or removed and carried with you, where you can look at data layers. Here's the yield map from that field, and I'm going to do a split screen again, and I'm going to show you. We're going to look at that sprayer coverage map for that fungicide that was applied. And what do you notice here? You can see first off that fungicide helped with a lot of that disease. We've taken a lot of the areas that were red before, and now we've turned them green. But there's still some parts of this field that are pretty impacted by some lower yields. And notice on the sprayer coverage map, this farmer left check where they didn't apply the fungicide to really see the impact of that. Again, I can take my field region report, and I can draw a little square around that part of the field. And if I just select that part of the check strip there, it'll go ahead and grab the yield data underneath that check strip, and notice the yield average there is about 198 bushels an acre where the fungicide was not applied. However, if I look at the whole field average, I can just tap on that. The total field average was about 219. So we got about a 15 to 20 bushel advantage by adding a fungicide in this field. But that's another really simple way that by capturing your as-applied data and then ultimately your yield data with the drive, you can really simply on the iPad see the impact of those decisions.
Wow. All right. Well, the hour is going fast. Hold on right there. We're going to continue. We have a lot more to cover, but we are going to hear from more producers around the country and more about Climate Corporation getting a good start here, but more to come. Stick around. We'll be right back after this. Rural America Live continues. Welcome back to Rural America Live, joined by our panel of experts from Climate Corporation, and again, climate.com. You've seen the website and the telephone number for you to learn more and ask your specific questions. We have other producers that Climate Corporation have invited to call in tonight to ask questions that you might be asking as well. We understand a lot more, and they want to be helpful to you as well. Again, let's go back to field variability as we left here, John, and I think you wanted to cover things like seeding and planting.
Yeah, as Anthony mentioned, solving for that field variability is where we try to boost some bushels. And so the Field Health Advisor provides some in-season imagery. And so on my screen here, we target to deliver 10 to 12 images throughout the crop season. And so this is what our new display looks like for this next season. It gives you really a card review of all of the different fields on your farm.
Maybe for folks that can't see all of those titles, maybe just run through a couple of what they're seeing here.
Yeah, you bet. So this is every field on the farm. You can see the date of the last image and really just quickly scroll through and see some things that might not look right, that you may want to go inspect and do some more detailed scouting on. So this is always being sent to farmers throughout the growing season.
So these are on this particular farm, every field that he has under cultivation, if I put it that way.
That's exactly right. Regardless of the crop in it, the nice thing about satellite imagery is we can capture that. The only thing that we have to worry about are clouds, but we have enough satellites up there now that we can deliver quite a few images throughout the season.
Very good. And that's continually, that's on an everyday, minute by minute basis. How often is that satellite capturing my field?
Yeah, it's really weather permitting, but what we see is, typically 10 to 12 days, you'll see a new image. Sometimes if we get into some cloudy conditions, it can be a couple of weeks, but we've seen on average about 10 to 12 images throughout the crop season.
Very good. Steve, you are here as a farmer from Illinois, but also a dealer of Climate Corporation. Talk about how you offer that to your customers and some of the things they're telling you, asking you, and some of the things that you're sharing with them, if you would.
Well, most of the customers I visit are looking for solutions. They're frustrated with their data being scattered. They don't have any use for it because it's not being put into one spot. So the first thing I do is basically show them the solution, which usually is Climate FieldView. If you've seen John show you, it's quite a package, and it puts everything in one spot where they can use it. So I sit down with them and I show them how it can benefit their farm, and it doesn't take long to catch on. It's very good.
Now, if they're just getting started this crop year, would they just only have data then from when they start this year, or would they be able to go back? Anyway, there's a way to go back and collect data, say, from one season back, for example.
Yes, they can upload old field data. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And right now they could get connected for fall on their combines with the FieldView drive.
what's the most common response you get from producers as you travel the country?
Well, it's kind of funny. It's usually about the rain gauge, right?
Yeah, I want to talk about weather.
There's a passionate love affair with the farmer's rain gauge.
Imagine that.
And if climate gets off a little bit on the rainfall totals, it seems to cause havoc. But, you know, that product is so much more than electronic rain gauge. You know, we got to get past that part and get to the part that pays dividends, like Field Health Advisor, Nitrogen Advisor, you know, analyze your yield. I mean, that yield analysis that John showed you is critical to what you're going to do the next season.
Mm-hmm. Is it an all or none type of a thing if the producer, when you go to the producer and he says, well, I'm not sure I eat all this, but can I use this part or that part?
Yeah, well, you can subscribe to the Plus version, which is one under the Pro, and it's going to offer satellite imagery next year, so that's going to be a nice feature. But the Pro, I would highly recommend, because that's where you're really getting returns on the decisions that you're making from that product. So it's hard to stop. I know I won't stop short. So
Right.
I'm going to use the full package.
By the way, you're going to be at these farm shows, Farm Progress Show, and you have a mobile unit. Maybe before we get to the next call, either John, you or Anthony talk about the mobile unit that will be maybe in their area.
Yeah, of course. One of the things we hear over and over again, Mark, is from farmers is, I really like what you showed me, but can I really do it myself? Right? Is it that easy to get my data in? Because I've heard about this for years. I've been trying to do this in some cases, but it's been difficult. So one of our approaches to really showcase how easy it is. So we have several thousand dealers throughout the Midwest, and we're doing a lot of showcases at those dealers. So we've got a couple of mobile units that are going town to town. They may find them scheduled to be at their dealer, where we can really bring in some of our support team that can do setup, that can show people how easy this is. And we're also going to be at Boone at the Farm Progress Show with a real heavy presence to really demonstrate and show farmers that you can actually do this, right?
And RFD-TV will be at Farm Progress Show as well. So we may come by and say hello and learn more. This has been a learning hour for me, and I'm sure for our viewers as well. Again, viewers, a lot of information here in a short time, and we've been providing the number of Climate Corporation on our screen for you to call during regular business hours and talk one-on-one for as long as you need to get your questions answered. We are going to go to Ohio here. Tom is holding on, a producer from the Buckeye State. Tom, how are things in your area?
Oh, they're great.
Good.
Quick question for you guys. How much time does it take to get my field set up for Climate FieldView?
All right. Time to set it up. Setup time, maybe, John?
Yeah, well, it kind of varies. On average, about 20 minutes because we have preloaded all the common land units into Climate software. So when you're starting from scratch, the best thing you can do, even if you're going to use the drive to map your fields, is to first select your field boundaries using those common land units, or we're compatible with most of the major farm softwares. We can export field boundaries from those software platforms, and our support team can help you get that set up. But it's as simple, really, as just pointing and clicking in the software.
Thanks for the call, Tom. We're going to continue on. Another producer you have invited to call. This is Sean from Missouri, and they need to be shown a lot of things in Missouri. They're Show Me State. Sean, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well.
Thanks for the call in here. And your question that might be a question that a lot of other producers are asking tonight as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure it's on a lot of people's minds. I was wondering how long or how often I get new field scouting images.
Yeah, how often new field images?
Is that right? How often do we get new images?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right.
Yeah, it varies, Anthony. We've been looking at these numbers. This season we had a few weeks of cloudy weather, but we target about every 10 to 15 days.
Right.
Every 10 to 15 days, getting new data. Is there a ping or like you may get with your phone when you get a text message that tells you, hey, there's new data?
Absolutely. Our system we have an alert system. So if you have those alerts turned on, you'll always get an alert that says you've got new images for your field.
Very good. John from Illinois has called us as well tonight. We're going to get a few more calls in here before we have to say goodbye. And John, you're talking to Steve here from Learning All About Illinois tonight, but what's on your mind?
Hey, this is John from Illinois.
Go ahead.
I'm curious how accurate your wear info measurements are in Climate FieldView.
Did you get his question?
Yeah, you bet. Rainfall accuracy
Okay.
is a great question. We have ground truth our precipitation data that we get from numerous public and private sources. Last year we put out just about 30,000 rain gauges and weather stations across the belt and compared it to our climate rainfall numbers that are reported. And so 88% of the time we found out that our numbers reported were within 0.2 of an inch. Now we still have some areas where those big sporadic showers or really fine light drizzles are a challenge. So it's always getting better. We're always adding more ground measurement, and ultimately, sensors are what's going to help make precipitation, nitrogen, and these models where we're really trying to estimate what happened more and more accurate. But it's come a long way in the last year. So if you tried it early, I think you'll see it's a lot more accurate than it was 2 years ago. Check it out.
Very good. Anthony, back to you about Climate Corporation and Climate FieldView. Producers, as being producers, want to know what's next, and so what's next?
Well, Mark, we're always talking to farmers about what their needs are and what they want. And so one of the things we heard loud and clear from farmers like Steve is, I like the nitrogen advisor, but I know I have a lot of variability in that field, and I really need to be able to get my advice down to a subfield level. So in 2017, we're going to launch features within our nitrogen advisor and beta test with a lot of our users that let them really go down to a subfield level and start to look at that field in less than one management zone. We're also always changing and adding new functionality and features.
Sure.
Another one is the ability to build prescriptions, both manual seeding prescriptions built, right on the iPad, as well as automated prescriptions based on yield data.
Geographic expansion, I see that as one of your bullet points here as far as what's ahead and new initiatives that are underway.
I think we have a map that we can actually show that sort of gives farmers an idea of what's available in their geographies. But Climate FieldView is available to growers across the entire United States, right? If you think about in some geographies, we don't have the right satellite imaging, and so we'll show you the areas that our satellite imaging and field health analysis are available, and then our nitrogen advisor is available in the Central Corn Belt. So you can see those geographies on the screen.
The color map here, so the green is representing the most.
So the areas in green are the areas that all of our functionalities and features are available, and the deepest insights in our nitrogen advisor and our planting scripts. And that's because that's where we've done the most field trial and ground truth and testing. The areas in blue is where our field health imaging and our plus features and all those analysis tools that John showed you are available. But across the entire U.S., our weather data and the drive and all those analysis tools that John showed you have taken a deeper look are available in every geography.
So even if I'm in Colorado, for example, using the map here, you can get at least that part of this technology in their operation.
That's right. In Colorado, we have farmers today that are purchasing the FieldView Drive. They're capturing their as planted data and their harvest data, and they're starting to be able to do their own detailed analysis and sharing within the tool.
You had something else you wanted to,
I was just going
John?
to jump in. We didn't hit on it very hard, but to Anthony's point, we're going subfield zone-based on nitrogen next year. Right. Anthony, we're also turning on a feature called auto scripts in the pro geography, and that's what's right here on the screen. Just with a couple clicks, once you've captured that yield data with the drive, we need a couple years to work with, but you can get 3 different zone recommendations based on science that combine yield data with other important layers to then help you assign a hybrid and a seeding rate to that. And so it's really one-click variable rate seeding.
Wow. Before we forget, and I had it written down here too, Anthony, that and something that we're doing in RFD-TV and our Market Day report is expanding. We are a global market here, and international agriculture plays into it bigger, as you know, each year. But and Climate Corporation, no different, expanding internationally.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it yet, but we are expanding into Canada this year, and we are also in a beta launch in Brazil. And so right now we're in the middle of signing up and selecting growers to participate with us in Brazil.
Now, what about a subscriber, Steve? Even as a producer, he wants to kind of keep track of rainfall and whatever in Brazil. Would he be able to tap into some of that data or not with this system?
Yes. So today we really only give Steve access to data on his farm.
On his farm, yeah.
And so we don't give Steve access to data on any farm that really is not his mapped field.
Well done. Okay, to Indiana, one more call before we start to wrap things up here. This is Joan. Joan, thank you for calling tonight. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Go ahead.
I am just curious, how much does it cost to sign up for Climate FieldView?
Okay. Cost. Marketing director ought to know that.
Yeah, we always get asked that question. We're trying to make it very easy for growers to start to use the system. And so some of our services are free. And so you can log on, map your fields, see weather data in real time, scouting notes and information, and really take a look at our feature set for free. If you want to enroll your farm and start to see some of the exciting new tools that John's put in place, we have that John's demonstrated. We have pricing plans and programs that if you take advantage of them in the next few weeks, you can get in for as low as $4.99 on a whole farm basis.
Very good. What's the producer think about in that kind of an investment, Steve? And he says, I'm not sure I need that. It's a matter of not affordability, but really a payback, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I've experienced it for 2 years, so I don't see, if they're objective, I don't see why, because I see the benefit of it because I've used it for 2 years.
Yeah.
But no, Climate has done a very good job of making it very affordable. And this model is going to be here for a long time, and it's going to keep growing. And my recommendation is to get on it and learn about it and experience the returns you can get from it.
And get this 2016 data started, so when you get into next spring, starting at full season that we started at the program, they got that information ready and available.
Yeah, exactly. We would miss it if we did not have it.
Very good. Real quick, you're going to be at Farm Progress Show. That's I guess the most the closest major farm show that a lot of our viewers and listeners may be going to, and they can check you guys out there and learn more about it at that show?
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. I mean, we welcome growers to come by and take a look. We can set them up there, give them a demo. We're also going to be showcasing some new research and developments that they'll be exclusively launched at the Farm Progress Show.
And on RFD-TV maybe too.
Right.
Okay. Well, boy, the hour went way too fast. Some great information here. We're going to go around the horn and give each one of you a chance for some final comments here to leave with our listeners and viewers. And Steve, I want to start with you. Thanks for coming from near Champaign, Illinois. Your closing thoughts tonight.
Well, thanks for having me, Mark.
Sure bet.
Well, the closing comments are maybe to the producers out there. We're all starting our 2017 crop budgets, and at $3 corn, $9 beans, we're checking things off the list we don't need, and I guess my recommendation is don't check this one off because it's going to return to your operation. So we got to be careful on being traditional in what we check off the box for next year. We need to think out of the box and maybe implement this on our farm.
It may pay back,
exactly.
even at the price that we have now. By the way, your daughter coming with you tonight.
Yeah.
Always great to have her here. Yeah. We're a family network, and great to have her here as well. And thank you for your time and input tonight as a producer and a dealer for Climate Corporation.
Thanks for having me.
Come back and see us again.
All right.
Anthony, you're next here. What are on your mind to close things out?
Yeah, Mark, I think I would just like to point out how easy this is to use, right? So I think a lot of times farmers look at these tools and think that they require training or they require a lot of work. We've really worked to make this easy. The drive's a first step. Getting your data connected all in one place is really a first step to make this easy. I think the second thing would be give it a try. So we really are confident that growers will have a good experience with our product, and that's why we've been so aggressive in making them available.
Very good. Thanks for being here as well. And John, you have the last word.
Hey, I'll just add on to say there's no better time to try than right now. To both of the comments that have just been made, we have a program that in the next weeks, if you enroll, you can just call our support team. I think the number's on the screen.
Been on the screen all hour.
And really for $499, farmers can try the drive. that cab app that we showed, and field health imagery, and we've really tried to lower the risk of trying. And so to Steve's point, it goes all the way through 2017. You can kick the tires this fall at harvest, but enjoy the product all the way through next crop season.
Climate Corporation, been a fast hour. Again, check out their website, and good night from rural America's most important network.